A novel is a long story that concerns itself with people. It is a form of prose fiction that can map the intricate contours of what people think, what they feel. For centuries, the grand stories of cultures were often about gods, fated heroes, the monumental events that shaped destinies from the outside. They told of epic battles, divine interventions, the unchangeable will of fate. The modern novel, however, performs a revolutionary act. It turns its gaze inward, transforming the human mind into the primary stage for drama conflict resolution. The novel becomes a laboratory for the close study of consciousness, the mechanics of choice, the vast, often contradictory landscape of our inner lives. The novel is often called the art form of the bourgeoisie, and for good reason. Its rise is linked to a growing literate middle class with leisure time and disposable income. Before the 18th century, books were expensive, handcrafted objects, and reading was a rare, privileged skill. The printing press changed everything. Books could be produced in large quantities and at far lower cost, reaching a much wider audience. As education spread and literacy climbed, a new market for stories emerged. Merchants, clerks, shopkeepers, their families all eager for tales that mirrored their lives. They rejected Latin epics and courtly romances. They wanted stories of ordinary people, city life, social mobility, and personal relationships. Cities like London, Paris, and other European centers became the natural setting. A fundamental shift that marks the birth of the modern novel is its turn away from the monumental and toward the mundane. The ancient epics celebrated the extraordinary deeds of godlike heroes. The Odyssey, Beowulf. These figures were defined by their public actions, their courage in battle, their cunning in leadership, their unwavering commitment to a divinely sanctioned fate. Their inner lives, if explored at all, were typically simple and direct, serving only to motivate their next heroic act. The world of the epic is one of clear moral stakes, where good confronts evil and destiny is a powerful, external force that shapes human events. The hero's purpose is not to question his world, but to act decisively within it. The new novel, by contrast, finds its drama in the small, seemingly insignificant moments of ordinary life. It takes as its subject matter the everyday struggles, joys, and sorrows of people who are not kings or warriors but merchants, governesses, students, provincial doctors. The novel suggests that a difficult conversation over dinner, a secret feeling of resentment, or a quiet moment of doubt can be as profound and meaningful as a great battle. Miguel de Cervantes' Don Quixote stands as a monumental gateway to the modern novel. On the surface, it is a comic adventure about a provincial nobleman who, having read too many chivalric romances, loses his sanity and decides to become a knight-errant. He recruits a simple farmer, Sancho Panza, as his squire, and sets out to right the world's wrongs. His quest is a series of pathetic and hilarious misinterpretations. He famously attacks windmills, believing them to be giants. He mistakes a flock of sheep for an army. He sees a common inn as an enchanted castle. The book is a brilliant parody of a dying literary genre. But beneath its comedic surface, Don Quixote explores the nature of reality. The central tension is the clash between Quixote's subjective literary vision and the mundane, objective reality that contradicts it. Where does reality reside? Is it in the solid, observable world that Sancho sees? Or is it in the stories we tell? Or in ideals? Or in beliefs? Cervantes makes a narrative aware of itself, blurring the lines between fiction and life, sanity and madness, illusion and truth. Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, published in 1866, takes the novel's exploration of the inner world to a new level of intensity and psychological depth. The book plunges the reader into the tormented mind of Rodion Raskolnikov, a poor, brilliant, deeply alienated former student in St. Petersburg. Convinced of his own superiority, Raskolnikov develops a utilitarian theory that extraordinary men have the right to transgress moral laws for a higher purpose. To test this theory and to escape his own poverty, he meticulously plans and executes the murder of an old pawnbroker. The crime itself occurs early in the novel. The true subject of the book is not the act, but its devastating aftermath within Raskolnikov's consciousness. The novel is a masterful depiction of a mind at war with itself. After the murder, Raskolnikov is not pursued by the police so much as he is hunted by his own guilt, paranoia, psychological disintegration. Dostoevsky renders this internal state with suffocating force. We are trapped inside Raskolnikov's head as he swings violently between intellectual arrogance, crippling fear, a desperate need to confess, an equally powerful instinct for self-preservation. Section 6. History's Human Heart. War and Peace and the Individual's Place. Leo Tolstoy's monumental epic, War and Peace, published between 1865 and 1869, expands the novel's scope. It connects intimate private life with grand, sweeping movements of history. The novel is set during the Napoleonic Wars. It follows interconnected aristocratic Russian families: the Rostovs, the Bolkonskys, Pierre Bezukhov. Tolstoy alternates between breathtaking scenes of historical conflict, Battle of Austerlitz, the French invasion of Moscow. He also gives detailed, intimate portraits of family dinners, romantic entanglements, and personal spiritual crises. Tolstoy's central project is to challenge the great man theory of history. That theory says major events are driven by extraordinary individuals like Napoleon or Tsar Alexander. Tolstoy counters that history is an incomprehensible force. It is the sum of countless individual choices, accidents, and infinitesimally small movements. He shows generals' grand strategies often irrelevant on chaotic battlefields, and he shows fate shaped by mundane actions of ordinary soldiers and citizens. Prince Andrei's search for glory turns into existential clarity while wounded, gazing at the sky. Natasha Rostova transforms from vibrant girl to woman hardened by love, betrayal, and war. Pierre Bezukhov stumbles through a search for meaning, Freemasonry, war's horrors, and finally peace and human connection and family responsibility. The largest events are composed of individual lives, and the smallest moral choices feed the unknowable tide of the world. Section 7. The Prison of Desire, Madame Bovary, and the Illusions of the Self. Gustave Flaubert's Madame Bovary, published in 1856, is a forensic and unflinching examination of desire, boredom, the devastating consequences of self-deception. Its protagonist, Emma Bovary, is the wife of a kind but dull country doctor. Trapped in a provincial life that she finds suffocating and banal, Emma yearns for the passion, luxury, excitement she has read about in romantic novels. Her mind is a tapestry woven from literary fantasies, cheap sentiment. She longs for a life that is more dramatic, more beautiful, more meaningful, and this powerful longing becomes the engine of her destruction. The novel is a clinical and compassionate study of a soul poisoned by romantic illusions. Section 8. The Architecture of Thought. Narrative Tools for Entering the Mind. For the novel to make the mind its primary subject, it had to invent a new set of tools, a new literary architecture for representing consciousness on the page. Earlier forms of storytelling could report what a character was thinking or feeling, but the modern novel sought to do something far more radical, to simulate the very process of thought itself. This required sophisticated narrative techniques to give the reader sustained, intimate access to a character's inner world. These tools are not merely stylistic flourishes. They are the essential mechanisms that allow the novel to perform its unique psychological work, making the flow of thought a visible, dramatic landscape. One direct tool is the interior monologue. In its purest form, as used by James Joyce in Ulysses, it presents a character's thoughts as a direct, unmediated stream, seemingly without a narrator. The prose mimics the associative, fragmented, non-linear nature of consciousness, memories, sensory impressions, anxieties, desires that flicker through the mind from moment to moment. The reader feels placed directly inside the character's head, experiencing the world through unfiltered subjective awareness. Section 9. The End of Easy Answers. How novels taught us to think. As the modern novel deepened its exploration of the individual mind, it also grew increasingly suspicious of moral certainty. The epic tradition and much of early religious literature were built on a foundation of clear ethical codes and didactic purpose. Stories were meant to instruct, to provide models of virtuous behavior, and to reinforce a shared set of communal values. The modern novel, however, moves in the opposite direction. Instead of providing answers, it has become a form that excels at asking difficult questions and dwelling in a state of unresolved tension. It presents a world where human motivations are murky, where good people do bad things, and where virtuous intentions can lead to disastrous consequences. This refusal to provide easy moral conclusions is one of the novel's most significant contributions to the modern sensibility. The novel does not tell us what to think. It shows us how to think with more depth, care, and compassion.